Welcome everyone to the Post Route. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the Eagles' second-year running back Miles Sanders. Sanders, for most of last year, shared snaps with Jordan Howard, which held back his fantasy potential in any given week. Despite this, Sanders still had more overall fantasy points than Alvin Kamara, and was only 3 points away from scoring more than Josh Jacobs. Sanders was the Eagles' third leading receiver in 2019, with 509 yards and 3 touchdowns. This only trailed Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert on the team. To say the Eagles' wide receiver situation was bad last year would be an understatement. Injuries and the lack of depth at the position allowed the Eagles to not have a single wide receiver go over 500 yards. This allowed Sanders to capitalize in the pass game, as at Penn State, Sanders was known as a running back that had smooth hands and good route running ability. Sanders has the ability to hang with McCaffrey, Eckler, and Kamara when it comes to getting points through the air. Sanders prioritizes softly receiving the ball into his hands before turning to run down the field, which is a trait that you'll love to see. Now let me show you an example of his ability as a receiver. This play came in Week 15 against the Redskins. The Eagles line up in shotgun formation. On this particular play, both Greg Ward and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside run curl routes. Dallas Goedert runs a variation of the post route, while Zach Ertz gets sent out on an out route. Now, based on the fact that Miles Sanders turns his head around to look for the football almost immediately, tells me that his original route was to be a simple swing route as a check down option. As this is happening, the pocket is collapsing on Wentz and he is forced to roll out towards the sidelines. Miles picks this up almost immediately and converts his swing route into a wheel route. By this point, Miles is still being covered by Ryan Anderson. Miles notices that Anderson is giving him a little bit of space. Anderson thinks that Miles is taken out of the play. Due to this, Miles calls for the ball and shuffles towards the pylon before having to fall down in the end zone to catch the football. This was a great throw by Wentz, but an even better heads-up play by Sanders. Miles started extremely slow last year, but week by week, he got better, and by the end of the year, he was the clear-cut running back one for the Eagles. In fact, in his first 28 rushes, Sanders only accumulated 75 yards for an average of 2.7 yards per carry. This stat in Week 3 meant he was dead last among rookie running backs for the season. Coming into the league, Sanders had a few big knocks on him that he cleaned up fairly quickly under the tutelage of Deuce Staley. The first being that he had a fumble problem at Penn State. In his junior season before turning pro, Sanders fumbled the ball 5 times, 4 of which he lost, causing a turnover. Troubling as this may be, Miles only fumbled twice last year, both in Week 3 against the Lions. Another knock on Sanders' game was that he was known as a mediocre blocker in college. Despite the reputation, he has most certainly turned his weakness into a strength, and has even made some highlight reel-worthy blocks last year. So the first block I want to show is against the Vikings in Week 6. The Vikings line up in a prevent defense, with the prevent being located at the first down line. Now keep your eye on Sanders. He reads the defensive line to make sure that he knows who to chip. With the help of right tackle Lane Johnson, Sanders wipes Afadi Ogdenigbo from the play with a nice chip block. This allows Zach Ertz to find the soft spot in the defense and ultimately pick up the first down. Now for my second example. The second example comes against the Jets in Week 5. The Jets line up in the nickel. Nothing seems too out of the ordinary, until as soon as the ball is snapped, the Jets' defensive line runs to the left side because cornerback Darryl Roberts is blitzing off the edge. A vigilant Miles Sanders scans the field and almost immediately picks up the blitzing Roberts. As Roberts approaches, Miles dips his helmet into the shoulder pads of Roberts and lays him out. Miles' improvement as a blocker will not show up in the scoring column for your fantasy team, but this may allow Sanders to stay in the game more often during passing plays. I will say that not everything is perfect about Sanders' game. A recurring theme with Miles last year was that he didn't always have the breakaway speed that you're looking for at the running back position. Sometimes you'll find that defenses will be able to track him down from behind, or in other times he'll get pulled down by just one defender in front of him. That being said, with a year under his belt, and with the team not only being healthier, but defenses actually respecting the Eagles' passing game this year, Miles should have an easier time running the football this year as compared to last year. The Eagles love to run an offense with running back by committee in mind. It would not surprise me at all to see the Eagles sign a veteran running back like Devonta Freeman or LaShawn McCoy before the start of the season, but this is seeming increasingly less likely as the Athletic's Zach Berman suggests that the Eagles running back, Boston Scott, will be competing for more of an offensive role. He continues, the Eagles don't believe how Scott played in December was a mirage or simply a hot streak, but rather an indication that he can be used as a weapon for the offense. Even with the increased role in the offense for Boston Scott, Zach Berman still thinks that Sanders will be in line for 15 to 18 touches per game as the lead back. At the time of recording this video, the Eagles' current running back room looks like this. Killins, in my opinion, could make the team as a return man, as he not only reminds me a lot of Darren Sproles with his 4.37 speed, but he also specialized in returning kicks for UCF. Boston Scott will remain the running back too, as he was last year when Jordan Howard was hurt. It's important to note that Scott would be a great handcuff in most leagues for Miles Sanders. Either Holyfield, Warren, or Clement will fill in the final 1 to 2 spots, as the Eagles typically only carry 4 running backs. If this running back room stays the same as it is now, I can't see any of these running backs taking away significant snaps from Sanders than what was taken from him last year. With the track team that the Eagles are assembling at wide receiver, and the always stellar offensive line play, I think Sanders is in for a big year. He offers a ton of upside through the air and the ground. The Eagles still will leverage a running back by committee, but expect Sanders to take the majority share of snaps. As always with Eagles running backs, be wary about the running back by committee, and make sure you understand that Sanders will get some of his touches, touchdowns, and points taken from him. Sanders' current ADP is at 22.5, which is about where he should be going. Sanders would be a steal in the 3rd round and be good value in the very late 2nd round of drafts. If all goes right, Sanders should put up running back 1 numbers and consistently be a threat to score when he's on the field. If you enjoyed the video or learned a thing or two, consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, take it easy.